And she's getting a 15.35 on bars this year. She has a 6.8 D score. It's the highest D score in the world right now. It's insane.
And Wei won Worlds last year with a 6.6 D scores for perspective. So this is we're hitting the top. So basically the deal is Nemour has not been released by France to make the nationality switch.
And also, like, you're blocking the best gymnast in the world on bars.
Remember, the show is PG-13, so you might hear a naughty word or two.
Today, Romanian gymnastics is imploding again. All the NCAA offseason coaching and transfer news, USA Gymnastics Camp News and Pan Am Championships team were announced today. How to get to the Olympics. We have Paris is just over a year away, 14 months. So we're going to explain to you how to get your favorite gymnast to the games. Welcome to the #1 gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica. I'm here with Spencer from the Balance Beam Situation. And let's begin with what you've missed since we took a well-deserved vacation after a grueling NCAA season where we compete 14 times in a row.
Oh, we competed so many floor routines.
Oh my God. We were in the lineup every week.
Every week with no breaks.
So
a lot's been happening. And it's this kind of thing where, you know how we complain about the extra COVID year and have complained about it a lot because the rules don't make any sense, but I do like all of the intrigue and transfers and extra years and people moving around that it has bestowed upon us because it's very dramatic and fascinating. So lots of news to get through. First of all, we learned, not related to 50-year stuff, that Kayla DiCello has said she's going to defer the 2024 competition season to train for the Olympics. That's the same thing Jordan Chiles has already said she's going to do the same thing. So those are the two we know about so far. Other people who are also intending to try for the Olympics may announce that they are doing so. You do not have to. So you can do both. It is possible. I think for a lot of people, it depends. The main thing is where they want to train. If they want to train with their club coaches in anticipation of the Olympics, then they can't be at college. And I think maybe that depends more than being able to do both, because it's really hard. But, these gymnasts.
Yeah. They can do everything. Like DiCello's going back to Maryland to train. And then we have
which,
Leanne
by
Wong.
the way,
yeah.
Okay, I have a question about that because, is Kelly Hill retired or not? Because I feel like every second, it's dating back to Keitra Hunter, it was this is Kelly's last elite, and then she's going to retire. And every 2 seconds, I'm like, so is she going back to train with Kelly?
I don't know.
I have no idea. I'm just saying, I always feel like for a decade, it's been Kelly Hill's about to retire, and then she's there at next nationals being look at this great elite.
Leanne Wong is registered for camp that they just had to pick the Pan Am Championships team, which I don't think she was in the running for. But she's registered for Florida and not for Gage, which might just be because she hasn't had time to go home, or it might be that's what she's deciding. And whatever she decides is fine because she's in charge and can do whatever she wants. And it's none of your damn business.
Her USAG profile still has Gage listed as her gym.
Yeah.
But for camp, she was a University of Florida athlete. Jade Carey has been competing elite as a Oregon State University athlete and did last summer as well.
Yeah.
So other transfer news in the Utah, what's going on category. I really want to talk about this because we've learned since nationals, 3 of the gymnasts we anticipated returning to Utah have entered the transfer portal. So Jillian Hoffman has, Lucy Stanhope has, and most recently we learned Sage Thompson has. This was a Salt Lake Tribune piece that noted all 3 of them are entering the transfer portal. So I want to get your thoughts. I have many and conflicting thoughts about this, but I want, first of all, your general take on Utah having 3 athletes we thought were coming back, or at least had the opportunity to return for another year transferring.
I mean, the thing is, you should be able to transfer. I don't think it's a big deal. Remember how Suzanne Yokelin talked about how 32 years of coaching or 50 years of coaching or whatever it was. I've never had a transfer. Yeah, because in the SEC, you used to have to, in that conference, you used to have to sit out a whole entire year, and you had to get the approval of your college to actually do it. So, of course, nobody transferred. Were they going to be blackballed for a year, essentially. That was like the most ridiculous statistic. But I just think like, yeah, the power should be in the athlete's hands to do what they want, especially if there isn't a scholarship for you. And I'm not saying they didn't have a scholarship for them, but it's like, go where you're going to be able to compete if that's what you want, get a degree that you want, and don't have to freaking pay for school. The most important thing. I would go anywhere I didn't have to pay for school. I'd be like, yeah, whatever. Even a year, it's too freaking expensive, especially since most of these gymnasts are out of state. So yeah, I just feel like good for them. Do your thing. Go where you want to go. Enjoy your life. It's just gymnastics. But I also enjoy the Salt Lake Tribune, who have a great partnership / marketing PR symbiotic relationship with the Utah gymnastics team. And I love that all this is happening. And then they put out a article that was, Tom Farden says, don't panic yet. And we're like, yeah, which is the question you want to ask. Like, hey, what's going on, Tom?
Hey, are you panicking? Is everything horrible? Tom, is everything a disaster? I think, yes, I agree with you. I do think if you have, so Utah had 13 gymnasts eligible to return for next year's roster. If 3 of 13, that's a pretty big chunk. You want to look at, what are we doing as a team that is, or what are we providing or not providing that 3 people are saying, I either want or need, there are a million reasons people transfer for all kinds of different reasons. I either want or need something else. If it's this many at the same time, it's worth, looking at. Why do this many people, a large percentage of your roster, want to transfer? Yep. But also, I agree with you. I'm very pro transfer. Go if you're not happy, go somewhere else.
Also,
and
I just
College Gym News had a. So we both started talking, and then we both said, "No, you go ahead," and then we both started talking again. We're great, you guys. We're professionals. We're really good at this.
Okay, I will talk, and then you talk about College Gym News, which we like College Gym News very much. They do a lot of good stuff over there. So the point that I was going to make is like, sometimes you're like, oh, I thought I was going to get to like go to school. I don't want to be at a program where gymnastics is supposed to be 100% of my freaking life. Like, I want to go to parties. I want to be able to concentrate on school and not miss every single like test that I have because it's the middle of whatever. So that's another factor I think people don't think about, or like, and it could be they're actually a degree. And this isn't unique to Utah. Yeah, there's like other schools where this is happening. Like there's a Colorado football team where there's 18 players entering the transfer portal, which 18 is nothing because football has like 200 freaking people. Don't at me with the roster. I'm being hyperbolous. Too many people they're allowed to have scholarships in the footballs.
What I was going to say was College Gym News had a piece about transferring, and they had quotes from Tom Farden and Jay Clark in there. And I really agreed with what Tom Farden said about, being open to people, 4 years is a long time. It's not going to meet the needs all the time. Having an opportunity for people to explore something else if it's not the right fit. I was like, yes, I agree with this. I did not agree with Jay Clark's quotes in that same article about wanting there to be more control from the coaches and administrators and more hoops to jump through for athletes who might want to transfer. I think that creates too much control.
We own you.
In terms of we own you. So I liked what Tom Farden had to say about transferring, and I agree with that perspective on that. It should be an open opportunity. So, and like you said, we were talking about that Suzanne quote at National, so that's why it's been on both of our heads. Also, because that entire Under the Lights Georgia Gymnastics documentary is like my formative, like me explains me as a gym fan. I think about it all the time. We were like, so the idea that you've never had anyone transfer is not a good story.
No,
like, schools think that like having someone transfer reflects badly on them. And I'm like, if you've had decades where there was never a single gymnast where it wasn't the right fit, or who needed something else, or who maybe like wasn't going to compete on your team,
Right. It's not possible to have that many years where that didn't happen. And the other thing is, like, if you commit, like, some of these commits were 12. Remember the middle school days, 12 or 14? They're committing. You have no idea what you actually want. You're just like, oh my God, the girls on that team are, like, so pretty and their gymnastics is so good. And oh my God, they look so happy. Oh my God. And then, you go there and then reality hits. And it might not be for you. Reality's hard, you guys.
And I think that's one thing we also saw at Nationals, which was fun to be there when we were in the arena for, the pre-meet warm-ups and hours before and all of that. Seeing the very, very different approaches that different teams have to training is really fun to watch back-to-back and compare. And it's not a better or worse kind of thing. It's a difference kind of thing. Like, some of those teams, this is a job. It is business, and we are going to do the job, and you clock in and you clock out, and this is what we're doing. That's what I gravitate toward, because I'm like, none of this feelings,
none of this matters.
None of this, just do your thing and then leave, and that's the job. And other teams are like doing like partner dances during the warm-up period, and like, let's all pair off and do a little high five dance instead of the open stretch. We're gonna do a high five partner dance. It's like, okay, that's your thing too, but it's very different, and there are very different training atmospheres. And you might think, as a club gymnast, like, it's so rigid and I just want to go someplace where we're having fun. And then as a, 21-year-old, you're like, all right, but like, I want to win or I want to get down to business and I want different things now. And that's totally normal.
Yep. Or you might be at a really small private school and you've exhausted the pool of available partners. And so you need to move to a bigger pool.
Of course.
I transferred 3 times. I ended up at the 3rd school. So I'm just saying, like, you need to enjoy your life. Speaking of which, Savannah Schoenhair, Florida, she's in the transfer portal. We don't know.
Her 5th year.
I hope there's a bidding war for her.
That would be great.
Yes. Ilka Juk from LIU.
Long Island.
She's going to Iowa, which is great. She fits the Iowa beauty and skill and creativity. And I think
her and Adeline Kenlin back to back in the beam lineup. Jessica.
Oh, stop it! They've won beam already. Just cancel the whole season. Oh, yes. And then Alabama, we have like all the seniors coming back, right? We have Luisa Blanco, Doggett, Burgess, Walgoria, of all the 5th years, because I'm sure they were just like reach into the Alabama purses of ancient oil wealth of the South.
Yeah,
and
a lot of people are announcing 5th years. And going back to Utah, Miley O'Keefe, Abby Paulson, and Jaden Rucker had announced previously, I think they did it on the senior night or around then, that they were taking their 5th years. So when we're talking about like Utah's lineups, I think with all these transfers, I think we would be having a very different conversation if like Miley weren't coming back also. But you have Miley O'Keefe and Abby Paulson and Jaden Rucker. So when we're talking about the actual competitiveness of the gymnastics next season, I think that it's still pretty solid. You just, don't always want 3 people transferring. Or maybe they do. Maybe they were like, get out of here.
So I want to know what you think of the new head coaches we have in, we have a first time ever college coach who's now a head coach, which is Ashley Miles, who's going to be at Iowa State. And she was a badass at Alabama, won many national championships, and is one of our favorite commentators for her no-nonsense approach to commentating. But she's never coached before. So what do you think?
Yeah, this is very interesting because as far as I know, like we definitely know she has never been like hired as a college coach before. And so that is a big leap to a head coach from having not been, didn't go through the path of being an assistant coach, maybe coached in club environments at some point, but I don't know.
Like camps and all that stuff.
Right, yeah. And so it's just not like she's like, so this gymnastics thing, tell me, what are you? But it is a big leap, and I think it's not a given that you're going to be a super successful coach. I am encouraged as much as you could glean from someone's commentary what they would be like as a coach, which I don't think you can. I think that's nonsense. I really do like her straightforward critical, but not mean.
Yeah.
Not derisive, just this isn't good enough. Kind of like that's going to get deducted. Just I like the vibe.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean anything about coaching, but it's all we have to go for. That I like the vibe of her commentary.
Yep. I'm excited to see what happens there. And then Casey Joe McGee, whose last name is McPherson, but we're ignoring that. Casey Joe McGee, Beam great, Beam genius coach, going to the author of a full in on Beam, a full on to Beam. Yeah, the author, and she authored it in her team. She's the first person to ever do it. But she did a full onto Beam as her mount when she was at Elite. She did the backspin on Beam. She's amazing. And she's been coaching at Missouri. And she's like clearly the reason Missouri stands out the way it has the last few years. I'm just going to say.
I feel like, this is the opposite in terms of she was kind of, at least this past, like after Janelle McDonald got the UCLA head coaching job, then it was like Casey Joe is the like star assistant coach who you would imagine is kind of like has their event and has become famous for their event, that this event is really good that you coach on Beam. And I think that, she was definitely the next in line to get a head coaching opportunity. And I'm excited to see what happens at Pitt this next season.
Yeah, so she's at Pitt, and I think Pitt and Iowa State are schools that would kind of, they were just flat, and I'm expecting them to rise now in critical acclaim, if not actual winning. I mean, Ashley Miles, I expect that team, the people that get recruited there are people that are like, I want to be a national champion. That's what I want to do, period. So also the NCAA championships broadcast broke the 1 million viewers mark. So it is happening, everybody. Also, did you see, women's sports has been having a moment, but it's having did you see that women's volleyball sold out a football stadium in Nebraska? A football stadium. They were like, we want to break the record for attendance. We know we can. So let's have a volleyball game in the football stadium. It's like 82,000 people. Crazy. You guys, women's sports, it's where it's at. You know this from season ticket holder to a women's sports league, Spencer Barnes.
Yeah. Oh, I have a story about that I completely forgot to tell him behind the scenes, by the way, about a celebrity almost dying in front of me.
Oh my God.
Just to tease, if you're not a behind the scenes subscriber, I have a story about how I think I saw a famous person almost get murdered.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm very excited for this. So this Friday, noon Pacific, you can join us live or listen to it afterwards in your favorite podcast player. So also, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Remember when Melanie De Jesus dos Santos left stupid France and came to train in the United States? France. They were not coaching her right over there. They were not respecting her as a person. Clearly, she needed better coaching and people who care about her as a person. So she went to Cecile, and she has been doing as a human being, I think, much better. And I was like, they should let her go to camps. They should because she's one of the best gymnasts in the entire world, even if she has competition problems sometimes, because clearly she had terrible coaches and she has to heal from all the terrible coaching that she had. And now we have that she's going to compete at she's going to be an exhibition athlete at Classic. Yes. Classic is going to be good, you guys. They should let her compete at championships too. If Jordan Weber and Gabby Douglas can compete side by side at the American Classic all those years ago, this is freaking awesome.
What does that have to do
with American Classic, the Visa Cup thing that we used to have that meet.
The American Cup?
Yeah, the American Cup.
When Gabby was an exhibition athlete?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So I get what you're saying.
And also, this is a normal thing in other sports. Have athletes that train here but don't compete for this country do compete exhibition in their national championships and stuff. And so I'm really excited for this.
I'm excited for it as well. I feel like, does this finally symbolize or represent USA Gymnastics moving past the era of the foreigners will steal our secrets?
Yes.
This never would have happened.
This more than anything else, including USAG's new website, where they have clearly spelled out who takes safe source complaints, whether it's USAG or the center. It is crystal clear now who takes what, which finally we got that. We wanted that for so long. This marks the era change over everything else that culturally that has held things back in such an important way. Though we don't have to fear outsiders, which is the whole problem that happened. Fear oversight, fear, people stealing things, fear people see what's going on. So, yeah. I mean, they're being more like Japan, who was like, YOLO, come over here. We'll develop you into an athlete that can beat all of our gymnasts. Welcome.
And we don't regret it at all. Not even a little.
No, it's fine. That's why we're building you your own place in the Philippines. Go back there.
So you have Romanian gymnastics news, Jessica, that you want to tell us about. So let's get into it. Club Gym Nerd, you get discounts and first dibs on live show tickets, an extra whole podcast every week, athlete dossiers for major competitions, code guides, options to commission your own segments. It also makes a great gift. Check it out at gymcastic.com at the Join the Club tab.
So a little refresher, and I want to thank Bea for helping with translations and summaries of everything that's been going on in Romania. So just and there will be links to the articles and interviews that I'm going to reference in the show notes. And of course, you can always reference our Nadia and the Secret Police documents as well, and interviews if you want to find out more about this. Not to mention, you should have ordered your Nadia and the Secret Police book out in English now, and you can get a discount if you're a GymCastic listener on the Bloomsbury US website. The discount code is GymCastic. That's until May 6th. You get 25% off. So here's the thing. Romania hasn't qualified a team since 2012 to the Olympics. Is that right? That's last time, 2012, you guys, London. They've had individuals compete, but remember those individuals, they've had to roll some elites out of retirement to get individuals the last two Olympics. And their longtime coaches, head coaches have quit and come back and retired and come back. And there's been just nothing but drama. So you remember earlier this year what happened with Puflea?
I do not. Please, did we not talk about this because we were talking about NCAA?
Yes, I feel like we missed what happened earlier. Okay. Or we talked about it on behind the scenes or something. But so Puflea, one of their national team gymnasts, very good, she accused Deva head coach Lucian Sandu of abuse. And remember, this is when her mom said that Puflea had texted her from Deva and said that she wanted to jump out of a window to get away from the verbal abuse that then escalated to beatings by Sandu. Those were her allegations. So then Puflea wanted to train elsewhere, and there was all this back and forth, and she wasn't allowed to compete. And then they wouldn't let her leave Deva and train somewhere else. So then finally there was intervention again by the longtime retired coaches, and she now represents multiple gyms so that she is allowed to compete again. So Sandu no longer coaches in Romania, but he still reportedly lives at Deva. Lives there.
At the training camp?
At the training center in Deva, even though he's not allowed to coach.
Well, we know how great it usually goes based on U.S. experience when the training center is also the home of the coaches. Coaches
accused of abuse, especially. It goes great. So that's Romania, everything's fine. So then enter, earlier this year, Patrick Keens, a Thoris coach from the Netherlands, and Karina Morosan, to coach a choreographer to coach the senior team at Deva. They're like, let's bring some different people in. Let's see how this goes. Although Corina has been back and forth to a couple different countries. So the other people that's coaching when they come into the picture is Gina Gogin. We all know Gina Gogin. If you have ever seen her you didn't see her Olympics or her multiple times she won world championships on some event or with the team. Her famous back handspring, miss the beam, smack her head on the beam, fall is one of the fails that you will recognize her first. So she is coaching the juniors in Romania. So Keens comes in with Corina. They coach the senior national team. They go to Euros, and Romania placed 5th as a team at European Championships, which you might be like, oh, 5th, that's not a big deal. But think Romania hasn't qualified a team to an Olympics for 2 whole cycles. So the fact that they came in 5th and beat France, beat Germany, beat Belgium, beat Spain at Euros means they have a legit chance of qualifying to Olympics as a team, finally again. after being out of it for, over 8 years. So then, of course, everything blows up after that. So last week, the federation announced that they were moving all the junior gymnasts away from Gojin. Now, Gina, why would this be? They're suddenly moving her away. There's no confirmed reports. There's nothing written in a newspaper in Romania that says that she's abusive, but it seems like something is going on, right? So the federation asked the gymnasts who they wanted to train with, and allegedly 3 chose Gojin and 5 chose Patrikines and Karina. So Gojin sends in a resignation letter where she also called herself out for certain behaviors. So she did fess up to some things. Then the federation intervened after the athletes voted and Gina Gojin resigned. The federation intervenes again and sides with Gojin and says, no, we're not going to do this. Gina Gojin needs to coach. She needs to stay. So everything's going fine right now. So apparently there were concerns within the program and from former, world champions from Romania that the ability of the new head coaches to coach the technical side, especially with the juniors and the developmental kids, wasn't there. And they needed to keep people like Gina Gojin to make sure that the technique was solid, right? So then yesterday, there was another vote. And the same federation committee who sided with Gojin reversed their decision and moved the national team away from Gojin and Deva again. And now the national team is supposed to train, allegedly, in Onest and be coached not by Gojin. She's supposed to be out again. So does this sound familiar to you, Spencer? Have you ever heard of anything like this?
Have I heard of Romanian gymnastics before? Yes, I have.
The team, there's like drama. People are accused of alleged abuse, and then they suddenly claim that their team was stolen from them and moved to the capital of Onest. It's almost like there's an entire book written about this and many movies, one of which totally made up by Bella Caroli. So, I mean, this all happened in the 70s. The same kind of stuff. I just feel like what is happening here has nothing changed. I think the biggest change is that the athletes were actually allowed to vote and choose who they wanted to be coached by. And it's semi-public what happened. So I think there's a lot of accusations talking to people who are familiar with the situation that people want to take credit rather than do what's best for the athletes. And it's like they know they need to foster a positive environment, but also nobody wants to not be the person getting their picture taken with the team when they win. And they don't want the athletes to have a voice. They're like, no, we know what's best for them. Whereas welcome to the new era where the athletes have agency and can decide for themselves. So in conclusion, Spencer, most dysfunctional, formerly winning federation award goes to Romania. But really,
it's a tough category. Can it go to everybody? Can everyone tie for last place?
I mean, this should also go to Jamaica for all the stuff that went down in 2016.
Well, you said a formerly winning.
Formerly winning. Yes, that's true. I did. I mean, many federations can qualify for this, but Romania, I'm just has nothing changed in 40 years, 50 years. It's very disheartening. But the athletes did get a vote, at least. So, Romania, everybody. All right. Now, Spencer.
Yes, Jessica.
I need to know.
Jessica. What would you like to know?
I need to know how to get Lynnzee Brown to the Olympics. All team schmemes. It's time. The qualifying has already begun. There are already teams that have qualified their spots to the Olympics. So tell me how to get to Paris.
Okay, well, I will tell you how to get to Paris. I'm going to ignore your phrasing of the question because we have to establish the teams. That is actually part of it. I know it upsets you very much, but we do have to talk about team qualification, if only because that influences individual qualification. So yes, I'm going to start from the beginning, and then I will get to your pressing questions about Lynnzee Brown, is what I'm saying.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so we'll start with what has changed? What's different in the 2024 Olympic qualification system versus that beautiful system we had for the Tokyo Olympics that everyone loved, and it wasn't complicated and had no problems at all. So
that I personally loved, because individuals who were rudely left off their teams could still make it to the Olympics. Yes, the system was created to prevent situations like what happened to Danusia Francis and what happened to
drink twice, because Jessica has mentioned Danusia Francis not getting to go to the 2016 Olympics twice.
There are several gymnasts that this happened to. But anyway, this is like Epke Zonderland is another one who almost had to kill himself to qualify. Anyway, I just want to give some background.
So anyway, this year's system is better because we've gotten rid of the +1 spots. Last time around, it was all the 4-member teams, and then we were talking about teams could earn 2 additional +1s. The U.S. had, we were calling it the Jade Carey spot. Jade Carey was going through the Apparatus World Cups to get a +1 spot. We had, for the U.S. men, we had Paul Judah go to the Pan Ams to get a spot for the country, for the U.S. as a country. All of that, those +1s, that's all gone. It was too complicated. There were too many problems. That we're done with that. The team size for the Olympics is back to 5, and it's just all team members named through a national trials process. Whatever the country chooses, they'll pick their 5, and those are the 5, and those are the only athletes from that country who are eligible to go to the Olympics. So
if your federation sucks and are corrupt, there's no way around it.
I know you have some feelings. But I think we can both agree that there are both pros and cons.
There are both pros and cons. I agree. Yeah.
Would
the
you
cons.
like to tell us about them?
Yes. Well,
I mean, I'll keep talking. I'm able to do that.
So it's less confusing. It's less controversial. But the cons are that you can't have an event specialist qualify. Like you can have. There used to be a way for an event specialist from a top country to make it to the Olympics. But now, like, say we have, somebody like a Jade Carey who maybe is vault and floor world champion, for example. Let's say she's not, but and then she doesn't make the team. There's no way for her to get to the Olympics. So you could potentially have a world champion who can't make a team, and therefore the best person on that event isn't at the Olympics. That's the big con. And we want the best athletes at the Olympics, right? Like that's the whole point. It's a competition, despite my feelings. And this is what was so good about the old system. So this is a potential problem with the new system, but like it's easier to understand a blah, blah, blah. But
it's more than just, I would say it's more than just easier to understand, because there were a lot of issues with the 2020 system, which is it was a 1-year thing. Like we're basically going back to how things much closer to how things were in 2016. Do you remember 2018 Worlds when Jade Carey had to sit out so that she wouldn't be one of the people who helped the team qualify?
She couldn't get a score.
So that she could go to the apparatus route. Like, that's the kind of dumb thing that had to happen in the last system. Like, you don't want athletes having to choose to sit out a world championship so that they can try to, qualify to the Olympics. That makes no sense.
Right.
And then we have, it was a whole mess of problems and eligibility and who can compete when. And it was, I much prefer the 2024 system to the 2020 system. And there are avenues for individual event specialists to qualify, just maybe not if you qualified a team, if your country has qualified a team. So we'll talk about the teams. So still 12 teams qualify to the Olympics, which is as it has been for a number of years. The top 3 from 2022 Worlds already qualified. So they're done. For the women, that's the USA, Great Britain, and Canada. For the men, that's China, Japan, and Great Britain. So they're done with qualification. The next part of the path for the US women or the Chinese men would be selecting the team in 2024. That's all they are. That's all they have left, basically. Yeah. 9 more teams are going to be named from 2023 Worlds. So the next 9 in order who aren't already qualified will qualify from Worlds this year, which they have to you have to qualify for as a team from your continental qualifier, which we've already had European championships, so we already know what teams are eligible. We'll have other continental qualifiers as we go, so you have to make Worlds as a team, and then you have to make the Olympics as a team. So we'll know the remaining 9 at the end of the year. Now we can get to the individuals.
Finally.
So, a couple new things in terms of individual qualification. The first of it, which is the best 3 teams that don't qualify to the Olympics as a team, so not part of the 12 teams, so basically teams 13th, 14th, and 15th, automatically qualify an all-arounder to the Olympics, just as a reward for, being close. Their team being solid, you automatically at least get an all-arounder.
Yeah. So who was this last time? Like last Olympics?
So, yeah, last time around, the next 3 women's teams were Australia, Brazil, and Ukraine. So they all ended up qualifying individuals anyway, because, they're really good countries who have people like Georgia Godwin and Brazil hopefully will not be in the same situation this time around because you're so good.
Yeah.
Please don't everyone be injured. And just qualify, maybe win a team medal at Worlds, because you're definitely capable of doing that, Brazil. So they would automatically have that one all-arounder. Then for the all-around standings, the next 8 men and 14 women in the all-around standings who aren't already qualified with a team, they get spots. Those spots are for them as gymnasts, not for the country. It's you qualify for you.
Under your name.
Under your name, you yourself qualify a spot at the Olympics. The change here is that that's way fewer all-arounders from Worlds this time around than last time around. So last time, 31 women ended up making it from the all-around standings at Worlds. This year, it's 14. Those spots have been redistributed, so because we have 5-member teams instead of 4, and to some additional apparatus World Cup spots, which I think is a good move. To redistribute from the all around to the apparatuses, at least.
Yes.
I prefer that for Olympic qualification, that you have more apparatus qualifiers and that still plenty of all around qualifiers, but more limited, because you want the top all arounders there, but the individuals, your meat and potatoes individuals are the ones who are great on maybe a single apparatus. So you want there to be, I like having more spots for them. So that's what happens in 2023. And then
I just say, before we go on, I really like that they have kept the rule that when you qualify as that in that all-arounder spot at World, so if you're a person in that those 31 that qualify, or you're not on those teams, the 8 women, 8 men, 14 women, not with a team, that you actually, it's your name. It is for you specifically. So it is not one of those situations like happened to other gymnasts for years and years where they qualified the spot.
Is this the 3rd time you're going to mention Danusia Francis and Jamaica?
I know this happened to someone else, but I can't think of who it happened to right now. I can only think of Danusia. I know this happened to 2 other gymnasts, which is why they changed the rule. But the nice thing about this being an eponymous spot, it's nominative, it's just for you. It means that your federation can't be like, oh, she's hurt, we're going to replace her with someone else. It's for you, or that's it. You lose the whole country spot. And which is, the problem that so many people had with the system before. But I think this makes it much more fair because it goes to the actual gymnast who was that good to earn that spot, not to someone else.
And then there are some routes in the year 2024. So there will be an Apparatus World Cup series that just concluded this year. And we'll talk about Cairo, which was the final event in the World Cup series. So that will happen next year. The top 2 on each apparatus in the series will qualify a spot at the Olympics. And once again, those apparatus qualifiers who, if you qualify for vault, you can still compete all 4 events at the Olympics. So they've retained that from the last time around. So everyone who qualifies to the Olympics, regardless of how they qualified, is eligible to compete the all-around once they get to the Olympics. And then we have the 2024 Continental qualifiers, which is another all-arounder, 1 per continent who's not already qualified through another method, makes the Olympics. This has already become recently controversial because we learned that the Pan American qualifier, so that's for North and South America qualification is going to be the Pan Am Games, which is in late 2023, acting
Not
as the
Pan Am
final continental
championships.
Right, which is in May of this year. We're talking about late this year. It'll be the Pan Am Games. Is acting as the continental qualifier for 2024, which is a big deal because if you turn senior in 2024, you're now not eligible to compete at the Pan American 2024 qualifier. So you basically have no route.
Which this is why Ayala from Argentina can't go to the Olympics, even though she'll be age eligible. Necessarily, unless she gets a wild card or something.
Well, her only route would be the 2024 Apparatus World Cups, which I think is going to be tough. But she would be eligible to try that route. But yeah, so it's a problem if that, having a qualifier in 2023 because of the age rules.
Yep. Which is like it used to be, you can compete when you're not age eligible as long as you're eligible for that Olympics. And this presents the problem. Yeah. Okay. So just to clarify, let me summarize. You didn't, so your ways to qualify are this year's as an individual, which obviously the important thing. You were on a team that placed 13th, 14th, or 15th at Worlds this year, so that you get one all-arounder, and that's chosen by the federation. It's not a nominative spot. Okay. Then there's 8 men, 14 women who were not on a team that qualified in order. So you take out the people that were on the team and the all-around
standings.
Yeah. And then for individuals, for your apparatus, you're the first apparatus. You are number 1. You're winning the apparatus after you take out all the people that qualified on teams.
I forgot to mention that.
Yes, explain that.
Okay. 2023 Worlds. I was doing the all-arounders. I missed the apparatuses. So there's one apparatus qualifier on each event for 2023 Worlds. So whoever's first and isn't qualified through another method makes it to Worlds, or makes it to the Olympics, excuse me.
And that's their nominative spot, not a federation spot. It's for them personally.
Correct.
Which is the correct way to do it. Okay. And then we have the apparatus. You have to win the apparatus series in 2024, or you have your continental championships way to get there. As long as you're age eligible, as long as you're 16 when those things happen, the continental championships, which this year for us, for the PAGU, is in Chile, Santiago, Chile, which is also where Pedro Pascal was born. What? It's never too soon in the episode to mention Pedro Pascal. I mean, all right. Okay. So the most important question next, we will get to: how does Lynnzee Brown get to the Olympics? And we're going to give you an update on Lynnzee Brown, thanks to the Olympic Channel and Scott Bregman. But first,
we'll be right back after this.
Tumble Track is having a 10% off sale on their side station items, including an air floor, you guys. The air floor is 10% off right now. Oh my God, it's my dream to have an air floor and a roof big enough to fit my air floor into the living room. Check out the sale tab on their website. Visit Tumble Track at TUMBLTRAK, tumbletrack.com. Train smart. Norbert's is having a sale on their mini bar. It's 10% off in May, you guys, and that is a small bar that you can put in your living room, just so you know, just so we're clear. So go to norberts.net for a 10% discount on anything with the code GymCastic May. Norbert's is also giving away a $50 Norbert's gift card that can be used on anything in their online store, no minimum. Just follow Norbert's Athletic on Instagram and like and comment on the giveaway post.
And we're back.
The important things. We found out from Scott Bregman's reporting at the Olympic Channel that Lynnzee Brown, standout at Denver, whose father is Haitian, it wants to go to Paris. And so she was trying to get her FIG license. They were holding a spot for her at the Pan Am Championships. She wants to continue after college in elite. She just did her 7th year, tore all the Achilles, had them all repaired. So she's all set to go now. So she finally got her license for Haiti. So what does she have to do now because of my dreams, personally?
Yeah. So I think her best chance to qualify to the Olympics would be through 2023 World Championships. So that would be qualifying from this month's Pan American Championships that at the qualifying to Worlds from this month's Pan American Championships, where the top 11 all-arounders who don't qualify as part of a team will then advance to this year's Worlds, and then she would need to be one of those 14 all-arounders in the women's all-around rankings who don't qualify as a team in order to get the Olympic spot for herself. I think that's the best path for her. Based on last year's Worlds, which is not always a great indication, but it's what we have to go on. We're looking at kind of a low 49 in the all-around to be ranked high enough to get one of those spots. I think it'll increase this year as we ramp up toward the Olympics and it gets, everyone's going for those Olympic spots and it gets more competitive. So could get higher this year. I would say if you're one of those athletes looking for an all-around spot for Worlds, like a 50 all-around score would be a good goal. I think that's a comfortable, we'll see how it goes, but I think that's a comfortable, that's the aim, that's kind of the score you're looking for individuals if you're watching these meets over the next year and who has a chance to get to the Olympics as an all-arounder. I'm looking at a 50 all-around is a good total.
Do you say a low 39? Is
49.
49. Okay, I was like 39. That's
maybe I did, and I was in NCAA head. I was good all-around scores like a 39 too. I meant like low 49s at last year's Worlds would rank about where you need to rank.
Okay, that makes sense. So she can qualify, or other individuals can qualify at Pan Am Championships, which is happening this month in Colombia, Medellin, to Worlds, and then qualify to the Olympics from this year's Worlds. Which is different than the Pan Am Games, which are in Chile and are the continental qualifier for Olympics. Got it. I just want to differentiate, make it a point for everybody that's making a flow chart at home and wants to have like continents and arrows on it,
Yeah. There are fewer arrows. Do you remember the video last time that the FIG put out with all of those like whiteboard arrows going that looked like one of those like conspiracy shows walls in the basement with the string? And you were like, this is not helping, FIG. This is just making it worse.
A whodunit cold case murder board with red string? Yes, that is what it looked like before. Okay, so Lynnzee Brown's got it. I'm not worried. She's going to be fine. Okay, so
don't put too much pressure on her.
She's fine. Okay, so Oksana Chusovitna. Now, is she going to make it to her 107th Olympics? And how will she do that?
There's some concerns. There's some concerns for Chusovitna. I think she has a good shot. I'm optimistic about her opportunities. So we know she's qualified to Worlds this year because she won the Apparatus World Cup series on vault. So those spots are not official yet, but she won. So she has qualified to World Championships this year. She has been doing bars at a couple of these World Cups, which is very exciting to me. She broke 11 in Cairo, by the way, Jessica. She broke 11 on bars.
She still doesn't wear grips, you guys. After all these years, it's been 31 years since her very first Olympics. 31 years since her first Olympics, still does not wear grips. It blows my mind. Also, can you imagine going after her? All the chalk is gone after you have to put like 2 years of chalk back on the bar before you do your routine. Anyway, whew.
Yeah, so she's doing all around. So there is a route. Last Olympics, she qualified through the all around standings at Worlds when there were many more all around spots, and she was toward one of the last qualifiers. Like, we were very nervous. She snuck in, but it was like a nail biter as we were watching throughout the day in qualification whether Chuso was going to make the Olympics. She did sneak in. It's harder to make it as an all-arounder through Worlds this time. I think her best route is going to be through those 2024 Apparatus World Cups because she just won vault this year. Once again, next year it'll be harder because there are Olympic spots on the line, but it's not like last time when you have people like Jade Carey also trying for those spots because there are no +1s for the teams that are already qualified. So there's not someone like Jade Carey coming in to be like, excuse me, look at my vault difficulty. The spot is mine. Bye. I think Chuso's in there with a good shot. She's healthy. If she is competing her difficulty, if she's not accidentally doing a handspring front tuck as her first vault, which is what happened in Cairo, and I'm not really sure what was going on there. So as long as that's not happening, I'm still optimistic about Chuso making the Olympics, but not qualifying until next year. I think that's going to be her best shot.
So now the question is, defending team champions, Russia, for the women.
And the men.
And the men. Sorry, I always forget about the men. But how could I forget? Because it's the men who donated weapons to the military, and the military posted videos thanking them about them, because the men's national team and the Olympic champion team obviously is not supporting the war. They're not a tool of the Russian government. Are they going to have a chance to make it? Because we've had all this wishy-washy nonsense from the IOC and the FIG, who are like, we're hands off, except the whole thing's about peace. I'm neutral, obviously.
Yeah, okay, so that was a big question there. The Russian situation right now, so they missed, European championships have happened. They were not allowed to compete there.
Right.
That was the qualifier for teams for Worlds from Europe this year. And then, so Russia has not qualified teams for Worlds this year, which is the only remaining way teams can qualify to the Olympics. So, barring a last-minute invitation to the Asian Championships, which why would they do that? Russia does not have a method to qualify a team to the 2024 Olympics. They would need, at this point, for the ban to be lifted in time for the 2024 individual qualifiers, the apparatus and continental qualifiers, so they could try to qualify as individuals. I think the main thing is this whole, once again, very wishy-washy IOC nonsense about, oh, well, we want to provide an avenue for athletes to qualify, but you can't have supported the war. Well, that's all of the gymnasts, right?
Yeah.
So would just, theoretically, that would...
There's only one who
them.
hasn't made a statement, who has been an active elite who's competed at world championships.
And Luba at Gymnovosti had a translation of an interview Valentina Rodianenko gave, and she said, it's at this point, it's 99% that they won't be in Paris. It's Valentina. You take everything she says with 99 pounds of salt, but that's kind of what we're looking at this point, and what the perspective within Russian gymnastics is at this point about whether they would have athletes compete at the Olympics.
And Valentina is the Russian women's head coach, effectively. Also, when I said Russians haven't made a statement, I mean a statement with their actions, not necessarily an actual statement with their words. So they haven't shown up at one of the pro-war fanfare parades or gone to the kidnapped kid camps, where they've taken the Ukrainian kids and or act like they're playing with them and everything is fine. That's what I mean by actions and statement. Okay, so we had some meets recently, including the Cairo World Cup, which is my favorite because it looks like a movie set. It's everything. If you've grown up watching Hollywood depict what Egypt looks like, it fulfills all your dreams. And they even had black numbers on the gymnast's back for the Cairo World Cup. What a statement. Now everyone's going to know, oh, that's the Cairo World Cup, because their numbers are black, not white, which I enjoyed very much. So, what was the importance of this meet?
This was the final, the last of the 4 events in the 2023 Apparatus World Cup Series, which not as a big a deal as the 2024 Apparatus World Cup Series will be, because that's Olympic qualification, but this does have implications for Worlds qualification for those individual apparatus athletes. So you have 8 people on each event at the end of the series qualify to Worlds. We won't know who those 8 people actually are, even though the series is over, until we know who has qualified, from their continents, and who has qualified as teams. But this has determined who the athletes are. We just don't know who they are yet. If a normal amount of gymnastic sense is what that makes for everyone. So, big news was Jocelyn Robertson won 2 of the 4 gold medals on the women's side. She won vault and floor, silver on beam behind Georgia Vila, who hit, And when Georgia Vila hits, just the world stops and everything is wonderful. And there's only joy and confetti, and there's no sadness or pain because her beam is tremendous.
I do want to take a second to watch Joss Roberson's Moors, which is so freaking high. She bends her legs on her second flip and her hips a little bit, but my God, the first one is totally laid out, and there's totally room for her to have perfect form on that second flip. I mean, it's crazy. A double twisting double layout. It's so freaking high and so exciting to see. Also, she went to the pyramids and rode a camel and then won all the events. So, okay, 2 of the events. And also increased her beam score. 2 of the events, all the events. It was a success, is what I'm saying. Also, she increased her beam score by a point almost in finals. So, shout out to Joss.
All the events, because Jessica also does not recognize bars as one of the events, as we know.
Unless an Italian.
As we know from Jessica's gymnastics career, bars does not count as one of the events. It's a 3-event sport. And no bars.
We did have a bars discussion this weekend, and I was like, yeah, bars, terrifying. No one should ever do it. It's so scary. It doesn't count. Anyway, but unless an Italian is on bars, because the Italians have mastered bars. So, Alice D'Amato won bars here with her black number on her back, iconic, with a 14.633. That's her highest score period this quad, according to the Gymternet.net, the Gymter.net. Thank you so much to Lauren for keeping track of all the scores over on the Gymternet. Her highest score this year was a 15.1. So this is quite a bit lower than that, but just a beautiful routine from her. And then we
on
had,
that note,
yeah.
I'm going to distract from the Cairo World Cup for a second, because on the note of qualification, bars, and teams not releasing people to do things, we haven't talked enough about Kaylee Nemour.
Oh, that's right. We do. Algeria, the France versus Algeria versus the best bar worker in the world, who's not. And if you're a visual listener, if you're a club, you don't even have to be a Club Gym Nerd member now. You can watch along when we're recording the big show. Behind the scenes is always just for Club Gym Nerd members. But yeah, the best bars worker in the world the French Federation won't release her to compete for Algeria. So it's like she can't compete for Algeria for a year. And she's getting 15.35 on bars this year. She has a 6.8 D score. It's the highest D score in the world right now. I mean, Becky Downey, if she connects everything, could get a 6.7, I think. But a 6.8 D score? It's insane.
And Way won Worlds last year with a 6.6 D scores for perspective. So this is we're hitting the top. So basically, the deal is to get into what the eligibility and what's going on. So she wanted to be able to compete for Algeria, which we've seen a number of French gymnasts over the years with Algerian ancestry switch their nationalities and compete for Algeria. The rule is that you can switch your nationality if the country of your original registration releases you, you can compete right away. So we see that often. We saw at Euros just a few weeks ago, Eddie Penev competed representing Bulgaria at the European Championships. He was eligible to compete right away once he switched because he was released by USA Gymnastics to make a nationality switch. Nemour has not been released by France to make the nationality switch. So when she did in the summer of 2022, because they didn't release her, she is not eligible for 1 year to compete for Algeria. So she won't be eligible to compete until, I believe it's late July 2023 for Algeria, which is then after the African Championships, which would be her qualification pathway to Worlds this year. So that's why it's significant in this timing. And that's why, once again, it is, what are you doing, France, the French Federation, in not releasing an athlete who obviously would like to compete not for you?
Right. And this goes back to my colonizer rule. If someone wants to compete for a country you colonized, you have to release them. Like the FIG should have a rule that the France is never allowed to block someone from I can't even count all the places that France has colonized. Half of Africa and a bunch of islands and the rest of the world. You can't block them. Like, especially in that situation. It's extra assholey to block them from competing. And also, like, you're blocking the best gymnasts in the world on bars from competing, period. So unless she gets a wild card, we still have wild cards for the Olympics, right? No, there's no wild cards. Worlds? We have wild cards? No, there's no.
What kind of wild cards are you thinking of?
Wasn't there a continental wild card?
Jessica's Feelings wild card? Yeah, there is a
That's what
continental representation, but they have a continental championships qualifier method, as we talked about, in order to ensure that there is continental representation at the
right. And there's no way for her to do it. It's not like she has to compete all around or she whatever. Like, unless she competes for France and France lets her compete for France, she has no way to qualify. The best bar worker in the world. And there's been a petition to try to get France to change their mind. I just think this is so shady. It doesn't even matter. Like, even if France, like, the government paid for her training her entire life, so what? Like, then take credit for it after she wins. That was our coaching, whatever. This is where I wish
that would be like not letting gymnasts change gyms.
Yes.
Which, like, some club gyms would love to do. And it goes back to, the rules about transferring. And we're talking about Tom Farden and Jay Clark. It's all of the same thing. It's exerting control over whether you let a gymnast do what they completely have the freedom to be able to choose to do.
And I understand that there's part of this that comes from the FIG rules that's like, well, if we let everybody just switch willy-nilly, we'll constantly have people jumping countries to compete. And then it won't really be about the country. It'll be blah, blah, blah. Like, I kind of understand that, but I don't really care. Don't we want the best gymnasts? Isn't it a competition? So basically, France is blocking the competition. That's what they're doing. And it's just gross. All right. You answered my wild card question, so...
So now you're done. You're out of this situation. I'm going to wake you back up. Wake you back up to talk about some things that I know you're interested in at this Cairo World Cup, because both Vasiliki Milusi of Greece and Marta Pihankolesia of Poland competed at this meet.
Vasiliki Milusi, Greek goddess, 38, 2 kids. Pihankolesia from Poland, 35, 2 kids, author of the Pink Panther floor routine, complete with Pink Panther leotard. And her daughter has a matching one, her first daughter. And they have a giant Maine Coon cat. Did you know that too? I mean, this family. So I'm so excited they're back. But then we also talked about Chuso competing at 47 now, 32, 31 years since her first Olympics. We don't know what really happened in that vault final and why she didn't do her planned vault. I mean, was it a Gymnova vault? I mean, they've been blamed for a lot of things lately. So that could be. Or maybe it was the cat, because, you guys, we had the P&G bat. We had the Nanning bee. We had many birds flying, giant butterflies. And now a new hero has emerged. The Cairo cat, thanks to Cecile Landy. We have the cat, a beautiful ginger cat with a big fluffy tail, just running across the floor during warm-ups. Just, this cat has a job, and the job is to keep this arena safe from rats carrying the plague, and it's doing a great job. Cecile Landy also is the coach of Josh Robertson. Also got a video of the cats enjoying some French fries by the trash cans too. So, you guys, the Cairo cat. Welcome to the gymnastics.
I'm going to say something controversial right now. I think some gymnasts should watch that cat run across the floor and learn some things about carriage and posture and elegance and rhythm. Because there was solid rhythm, solid artistic movement, pacing. It was really well done. Commitment. Ended in right in the corner. Knew where it was on the floor. Good air awareness.
I also enjoy the theory that this cat was staging a protest in honor of Celine Van Gerner and her Cats the Musical makeup, which she was able to perform once with and to her Cats routine. And the judges said they enjoyed it very much, but they were not going to allow this anymore. But it was, one of their favorite things that happened that year. So
the most gymnastics thing in the world. We loved it, therefore it must be destroyed. We all loved it. Everyone was in favor of it. No one's allowed to do it again.
Oh my God. Okay, so some quick news from the U.S. Camp that was over this weekend, and the women's Pan Am Championships team has been announced. So let's talk about who was here and what the important things on the roster that have changed.
Yeah, so this was a regular national team camp and also the Pan American Championship selection. Most of the athletes who were at the camp did not try for the Pan American Championships. They were also just here to be at the camp, but we had some people returning to camp like Jade Carey, Leanne Wong, Connor McLean were all at this camp, but none of them tried for the Pan American. None of them tried for the Pan American Championships team. They were just here at camp. And actually, very helpfully on the results, which were publicly released, the results of the verification through the different world, they also noted that Connor McLean showed choreography on floor at this competition. Thank you for the helpful information.
Yes,
I appreciated that.
We like that. USA Gymnastics and all the camp folks. We like to see those things. Nice transparency. Good job.
Now let's move on to video. Remember that when that happened twice? When we got to see the verification?
2 times we got to see the actual competition? Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then that went away. Let's keep that energy going. And then we could see, if you're competing at a trial, that should be a public, right. If it's scored at a trial, that should be a public routine. But also, so as we talked about Leanne Wong, here officially representing Florida, Gage is still on her USAG bio. Connor McLean, we talked about her gym change. She's at Pacific Rain now in the greater Seattle area.
Where Simone Rose and Jayla
Hang. So question, is Washington the new Texas?
Yes.
Because you have Connor McLean, you have Shilese Jones. Jordan Childs is from there.
Yep.
So that's top 3 at nationals last year. I think it's like Texas move over. It's all Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Jade Carey's at Oregon State. That's also
practically
Oregon, Washington area. It's all happening.
Yeah. It's rain and big trees that by the ocean. That's the new. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what it takes.
And then we got the Pan Am Championships team for Colombia, not Chile. That's later. So we have the team is Robertson, Joss.
Yeah.
Who it was so cute. The picture, they just held up a picture of her on the computer from Cairo because obviously she's not at camp because she was competing in Egypt. Which did I mention? Went to the pyramids, rode a camel, and then competed. I said that, right?
Did mention
That's the best thing. It's almost like you don't have to be literally locked and guarded in your hotel room and can still win things and be okay at gymnastics. So Sumana Sacra, Nola Matthews is going, Zoe Miller, Bars Queen, and Addison Feta. So the alternate is Madray Johnson. And the top 4 all around at camp were Matthews, Zoe Miller, Sumana Sacra, Feta, and then Roberson was in Cairo, as I said.
Oh, you were doing so well, and then you threw in a Roberson.
Rob!
We were so close. We were so close.
Like those cats were robbing the trash. It was a bag on top of the trash. They weren't in the trash. They're not trash cats. They were robbing that.
Jessica didn't want you to think negatively. She was really worried that you were going to judge these cats.
Those cats are doing their jobs. They were robbing a bag of French fries, but Rob Urson.
So it was the team was the top 4 in the all-around and Joss Robertson, who was in Cairo, but it was also the highest scoring team. So I had to make sure, because I was about to get mad, because you know how I feel about the all-around standings. I was about to be like, oh, these damn all-around standings. But then I did the team and the scores from camp and Robertson scores from Cairo, and that is also the highest scoring team. So I'm reserving, I'm just simmering the anger and preparing it for later.
But this is going in the right direction. The highest scoring team.
Well, yeah, but it was also the all-around standings that just happened to be the
so
same
we
thing.
don't know if they really chose by all-around
another
standings
incomplete.
Right. We would like to have like a strategy call where you'd be like, hey, Alicia, you're in charge of strategy. So did you choose the highest scoring team or by all-around?
I would love to know that.
Yeah.
If you don't want to bother with the whole joining Club Gym Nerd thing, you can just give us money. Check out the no strings attached donate button at the bottom of the Join the Club page at gymcastic.com/club.
We have some Gymternet news, starting with Olivia Dunn, the most followed woman in college gymnastics on the socials, is appearing in the swimsuit, Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. And People Magazine had some exclusive photos, and she looks great, and I'm so stoked. It's been a long time since we had a gymnast in the swimsuit issue. Was it Blaine Wilson? Was he the last one in the swimsuit issue? Or was that the ESPN?
I haven't kept track.
I can't keep track of who it was in. But yeah, good for you, Olivia Dunn. Keep making your money and enjoy yourself. The Honda Award, Trinity Thomas won it for the second time in a row, and Paul Judah got the Nissan Emery Award on the men's side. Simone Biles is officially married. She got married at the courthouse in Texas. So lucky Mr. Simone Biles. Congratulations to you two. They're having like a destination wedding, so this is just like they had to get married before. So this isn't the final wedding. There's another wedding, but yes, officially married. And I especially like they're making out in the elevator with the leg up photo. You go, Simone. Enjoy yourself. Okay, we have some news in NCAA. The NCAA is allowing more benefits for athletes. Thank God, because what's happening in colleges right now and the mental health crisis is very serious. So Division I members, so not everybody, but Division I, who don't already do so will be required to provide medical coverage for athletic-related injury for at least 2 years after graduation. 2 whole years? Wow! 2 years? Really? That's ridiculous. It should be, if it happened in college, for as long as you want, that injury is covered indefinitely. If you can't get surgery for 10 years or 15 years and then you need it, then it should still be covered. It's ridiculous. They have to attest that they provide mental health services and support consistent with the NCAA's mental health best practices, which, they have to say that they follow concussion management protocols in line with the NCAA's concussion safety protocol checklist. Now, I want to know specifically how this is being enforced, because we know of athletes who have been forced to compete with concussions and now have permanent problems in college. Offer degree completion funds for up to 10 years after a college athlete's eligibility concludes. This is great. Because, if you want to go pro and then you kind of come back, I don't know what college takes your credits 10 years later. I mean, maybe if you're not like in the sciences, or maybe if it's like a field that never changes. I can't think of what field never changes. English? I don't know. Wow.
Oh, Jessica. Yeah, they stopped language. The English language stopped.
You know what I mean? Like,
so they don't have any new English.
You know what I mean, where there's like a new changing studies or whatever every couple of years. They have to provide the same scholarship protections already required of autonomy conferences. They have to attest that they provide academic support services in line with NCAA rules, they also have to provide career counseling for current and former college athletes and life skills development across a range of topics, including strength and conditioning, mental health, nutrition, name, image, likeness, financial literacy, career preparation, transfer requirements, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. What? How's BYU going to do this? They'll fake it. Sexual violence prevention. This is a huge deal. I'm very happy that they at least have to say they're doing things. Now I would like an enforcement body made all of women and people in the LGBTQ community to enforce this situation. That's the next step. You know how I love policing and having accountability. Speaking of which, the dumpster fire news.
Okay.
Parkett's coach John Holman has retired. He's still waiting for his Safe Sport investigation report. In the meantime, he's retired. Andrew P. Niffy of Lucerne County, Pennsylvania, was charged with 1,000 counts of possessing and sharing child sexual abuse materials. Again, that's Andrew P. Niffy, a gymnastics coach in Lucerne County, Pennsylvania. There's also a suspension. An Ontario gymnastics coach in the Windsor area, Diane Deslippy, has had her membership suspended for a period of 2 years following an investigation of allegations of aggressive coaching behavior. That's from the Windsor News specifically. We have some feedback that I'd like to share with you guys. And I love this first letter. If you guys have feedback for us, put it in the forum at gymcastic.com, or if you want it to be anonymous, you can email us at gymcastic@gmail.com. Live show is a must-do.
Michelle says, thank you for making my trip to NCAA Nationals so great. I traveled from Australia for it, and I would definitely return. The live show is a must-do if you're traveling to NCAA Nationals. The margaritas, Maggie's mom, stories from Evie and Taylor Rice, the banter between Jessica and Spencer, the retired gymnasts in the audience, and the all-around friendly atmosphere made it a trip to remember. Thanks so much. See you next year.
Yay! Oh, that makes me so happy. That live show is so fun. It is really so fun. The theater is great. The area is great. I love it. Okay. Spencer, this next letter about Chuso spreading world peace. I did not write this. This is not me pretending to be someone and writing in an email. I just want you to know that ahead of time.
Christine, Jessica's fake name is Christine. Christine says, yesterday afternoon, I took a ride in a Lyft and my driver apologized for his limited English. He told me he was from Uzbekistan. I told him the only thing I knew about Uzbekistan was about women's gymnastics. After trying to simplify gymnastics into simpler English, flips, balance beam, and with some minor gestures, my driver said, yes, Olympic sport. I said, exactly. The only thing I know about Uzbekistan is Oksana Chusovitna. He exclaimed, Chusovitna, she's from my country. She has many records. So my Lyft driver with limited English, who moved to Tennessee 4 months ago, and I bonded over Chuso because Chuso is an agent of world peace. Take off on gay, split on rights, and may Chuso continue to be an international treasure.
World peace in taxis via gymnastics, Spencer. Spencer has been in many, many taxis with me and Lyfts and Ubers and can attest to...
Oh my God, you guys, it's insufferable.
Trying to make a human connection with people when you travel. Yes,
correct.
That's the reason.
It's insufferable. It's so rude. It is horrifying. There's so much talking when, as we all know, the proper situation is silence.
You guys, the proper thing to do when you're traveling is to make friends and represent your country. Try to be the antithesis of the American stereotype when you travel, and be nice and friendly to people because you're a representative of your country, even if you don't want to be. And international world peace.
Yourself upon them at every opportunity is Jessica's worldview.
If people don't want to talk, I won't talk. Like the guy in Germany who was like, you can close your eyes now. Remember that taxi driver when we're going And I was like, oh, you guys, he said we can close our eyes now. Okay, he's done talking. I respect people's boundaries, Spencer. Do I touch you all the time during meets? No. That's right. I'm going to read this next one about the Powers Gymnastics group from Allison. Former gymnast, former rec coach, former almost a judge. Dang, COVID happened right after I certified and I never renewed. Do it. Become a judge. Become a judge. Current gym mom here. Big fan of the show. Hello. Thank you for listening. Have you guys heard about what's happening across the country with the Powers group and the group including Jill Powers and Trevor Thompson, who I believe are the ones funding the men's program at EVO. Yes, they are the ones funding it. That is how EVO is happening. They are taking over gyms across the country, mostly Arizona, Texas, and North Carolina. And from what I've heard, destroying their competitive programs to build money-making rec programs seems like 16 plus gyms, if not more, have been bought. Not sure if there's something about the Gymternet. This is something in Gymternet want to hear about, but as a parent at one of their gyms they've bought, it's not a fun time to wait around and see if your program is going to get cut. So we did actually talk about the Powers Group, and we specifically talked about the article that was in the Insider, I believe. We linked to a couple episodes ago about this program and about the Powers Group and what they're doing. And at the time, I think they had 9 gyms. But we have heard, this is not the first letter that we've gotten about people that are really disappointed about what's happened at a gym that the Powers Group has bought. Specifically, we heard from another parent who said that they were not letting people travel to the competitions that they qualified for. So, they're buying up a lot of gyms, and it would make sense that they would want to get rid of competitive programs and concentrate on rec, because rec is the money-making avenue unless you charge a ton of money to be on a team, which some gyms do. So, teams are generally, they lose money. So it's not surprising this is happening. And I don't know what to tell you about it, except I guess create a program, create a defense if you don't want it to happen. Like if you guys have a parents, what are they called when parents get together and they help out and they make like a group? There's
Bars.
like a take all the parents to a bar, create a booster club, get a parent who's a lawyer, a parent who's in some kind of like investing, finance, knows about that stuff, and someone who's likes to be the person who like writes things down and checks rules, and another person who's really good at like being an orator and getting people on the same page, like a political type, and who's like gregarious and people like them. Get those people together, make a plan, and pitch it to your owner. We really don't want you to sell to this group if that's not what you want. Or when they come to sell, talk to your owners and be like, hey, we have questions as the people who pay the bills at this gym that we would like to ask the Powers Group before they buy. Those are my suggestions. Maybe they can put it in the contract that they will keep the teams for so many years or whatever, you know? So, but yeah, you're not the first person that we've heard that for. Also, the Evo just started a men's gymnastics foundation, and I'm like, so you want people to donate to your tax shelter now, even though there was a program that had this at the U.S. Olympic Training Center, and you took everybody to your private gym and are paying them, but now you have a foundation for a tax shelter. You want people? I'm not falling for that at all. Not for a second. I'm not having it. Maybe it's doing all great stuff and the money goes directly. It's still a tax shelter, and it's already Florida where no one pays any taxes. So no. Okay, next letter. Hello from I Love You Tasha guy. This is the I Love You Tasha guy.
Alex says, it's me. After being referenced in a few different episodes over the years, it's long past due that I introduce myself. I am the I Love You Tasha guy. Would you like to explain this moment, Jessica?
Yes, you guys. At Tasha Schweikert, in whatever era that was, after the Sydney Olympics, in her purple leotard era, I believe it was, she was on beam at Nationals or American something, some big meet that was televised, American Cup. She's about to do her dismount on beam, which was like a full in, I think. She is like about to do her resting pose before her dismount at the end of the beam, and a guy yells, "I love you, Tasha!" And you can see her mouth, thank you. And then she does her dismount and freaking nails it because Tasha Schweikert, also Tasha Schweikert, who was at our live show and is awesome. You guys, this is the guy.
Tasha was and continues to be an absolute badass who deserves all of our love. I'm a former junior elite trampolinist and power tumbler turned NCAA diver who fell in love with gymnastics as a 10-year-old watching Dominic Moceanu during the 1996 Olympics. I was the guy who recorded all competitions from the 1990s and early 2000s on a VHS so I could watch them over and over again. In fact, I brought 30 VHS tapes, a subset of my favorite competitions, and a VCR to my college dorm room as a freshman. Needless to say, my roommate in North Carolina was very confused and concerned. He eventually would join me at every UNC gymnastics home meet as we screamed for Courtney Bumpers. Remember when UNC was like competitive in college gymnastics? Sigh.
Oh, Courtney Bumpers. Oh, a legend.
Anyway, I wanted to let you know that I'm obsessed with the show. Obsessed. You two are a perfect combination of, well, me. I'm very into the storylines, fluff pieces, and feelings a la Jessica, but seriously, I don't care how much they fall or how many mediocre Yurchenko Fulls they have in their lineup. UCLA is the best college gymnastics team and should always win. But also sports and facts. Spencer, I love when you break it down to reality, and I get audibly frustrated with the collegiate scoring system and also the ridiculous lack of understanding of code composition of the U.S. women's gymnastics team. Read the effing code of points. Code hack. This isn't hard, it's math. Not only has the podcast brought me tremendous joy and laughter, sometimes out loud while riding the metro to work, sorry not sorry, but it has also fostered my love for NCAA gymnastics. Dare I say, I might like it more than Elite now, although with the prospect of Suni, Gabby, and maybe even Simone training for Paris, that allegiance is likely to switch soon as soon as the US Classic rolls around. However, I have an important question. What the fuck are we supposed to do next year without Jordan Childs and Darian Goburn in NCAA? And Trinity.
I know
my Jessica is showing, but unlike Celine, I am not sure my heart can go on. But don't worry, Spencer. I'm sure there will be plenty of your Yurchenko 1.5s with bent knees and a hop forward that still go 9-9 that we can commiserate and / scream out loud over. Sigh, I want to hate it, but I love it. NCAA gymnastics in a nutshell. I'm hoping to make it to NCAAs one year so I can attend a live show in person and fanboy so hard that I'm too nervous to ask Spencer for a selfie, which, Spencer, I know you have a long line of marriage proposals, but I would like to be first in line for the straight men for Spencer category. Let's go. As all good gymnasts must, I am trying to raise my children to be gym nerds as well, although my wife vetoed my idea of naming our daughter Simone. Come on.
Rude.
She is at least enrolled in gymnastics and does watch meets with me. She likes the girls in pink leotards. It's a start. Much love and appreciation from Alex, the I Love You Tasha guy.
Yay! Oh, this is awesome. Tasha's going to love this letter too. You have to come so you can meet Tasha. How else are we going to introduce you? You could be like, I'm the guy that yelled during me. Oh my God. Do we need a straight guys for Spencer shirt? Is that our next line of merch?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love this so much. Okay. Let's read this next one. A big thank you.
This is anonymous. Thanks so much for all the incredible coverage this NCAA season. I found GymCastic over the summer, so this was my first NCAA season with the GymCastic and balance beam situation content, and wow, does it really enhance the gym nerd experience. I listened to some sports ball podcasts, but the engagement of this podcast, especially on behind the scenes, makes it so unique and far better than anything else in the sports category. Being able to ask questions in advance or live and chat with other club gym nerds is truly fantastic. Spencer, thank you so much for all of your coverage on the balance beam situation. Quad boxes and several meets happening at once is very stressful, but you are doing the most to give such comprehensive and high quality coverage that ensures we can stay on top of it all. Streaming and live score meet links, meet schedules, NQS updates, routine commentary, and meter analysis are just some of the things that make your website such a lifesaver during the NCAA season. I didn't write this. Having free access to your website is a blessing everyone should be taking advantage of. Your coverage is truly some of the most objective in all of sports, but you still keep it honest and humorous and point out the highlights and weaknesses in all routines and teams, especially when it comes to scoring. Just like Trinity Thomas pulling out a perfect stick after an injury to tie the tens record at the NCAA championships and deliver for Florida, that is a very impressive feat. Independent media coverage sites like GymCastic and Balance Beam Situation are so special because you can provide such unique content that is so authentic and doesn't have to follow any large corporation guidelines.
That's right.
It keeps your content genuine, humorous, in-depth, meaningful, and so fun. Thank you, Jessica, Spencer, Coop, Kensley, and all the volunteers for all that you do. There's nothing else out there like it. All of you are outstanding.
Thank you so much. I love it when Spencer reads love letters to himself. I love it so much. All right, last one. And remember, if you guys have letters for us, gymcastic@gmail.com, if you want to keep it anonymous or post them in the forum. Magnificent Seven musical review. It's been a couple years since we first heard about this musical. It came out, and it debuted in Michigan, and it looks like they've done a lot of work on it. And this is a promising review.
This is from Evan the Engineer, who says, I just saw the Magnificent Seven musical production last weekend at the Flint Repertory Theater in Flint, Michigan. It's definitely a gym nerd show. Random normal people might enjoy it at a surface level, but it's full of little commentary that only someone who actually knows the intricacies of what was going on in 1990s gymnastics would catch. I particularly enjoyed the caricature of Elfie Schlegel and her bitterness over the Moscow Olympic boycott, which would go over the heads of non-gym nerds. It was interesting the way they adapted the gymnastics, which was effective enough for this purpose, although the actress playing Shannon Miller did do something resembling a round-off, and a few of them did things recognizable as leaps. Similar to an actual meet, they were in and out of warm-ups with leotards underneath through most of the show. Maybe as an artistic choice or in the interest of modesty, most of the actresses wore some kind of sheer skirt over the leotards. I know many former gymnasts refuse to be seen in leotards ever again, so one couldn't reasonably fault a non-athlete adult woman for not wanting to either, although the actress portraying Dawes did just wear the leotard alone. She also had some kinesio tape on her leg, which I thought was a nice touch.
Excellent touch.
There evidently wasn't a huge budget for this. They had customized warm-ups with their names on them, but I guess couldn't afford wigs or adequately large 1990s scrunchies. There's no way. You couldn't possibly. They don't exist. The actress playing Borden was blonde, but Shannon and JC Phelps had dark brown hair. The characterizations were sort of interesting. I guess there's room to project and explore since we don't really know tons about what their actual personalities are/were, but they sort of made Shannon Miller into kind of a jock asshole, which I'm all right with, but it was definitely unexpected. Her character and dialogue were basically what I imagine Protonova would have sounded like had we ever heard her speaking English as an active gymnast. Musically, it was all right, and probably about what you'd expect for regional theater. Some of the actresses were better singers than others. The commentators were the spoken-only roles, although I wouldn't describe any as barn burners. I have a graduate degree in music composition, so sometimes it's difficult for me to analyze things from the perspective other people will likely hear them from, but I thought the score was very generic, new agey pop/rock Broadway-style music, and the songs sounded very similar. The show was only 90 minutes without an intermission, and I honestly can't imagine it going on for a lot longer. But I feel like anyone who enjoys modern Broadway musical theater would probably like it, as would gym nerds generally.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that review. The thing is, I hate musicals. Like, I just hate them. So I want to really be excited about this, but I just cannot get it up for this. I'm just so, ugh. But then the thing is, I think this could be super successful because, if you look at the Hamilton guy, that other musical he did in the Heights, all the songs are exactly the same. The tunes, if you looked at the actual music on a sheet, it would probably be exactly the same, just with different words. So, if you're good at something, look at all these pop stars. If you got something that works, you can make a career out of it forever. So I feel like this could be successful if enough gym nerds see it. You got to get rid of the skirts, though. No skirts. No tights. Or bike shorts. People wore bike shorts back in the day. Or your tights that are cut off at the thighs. That's what you wear. Oh, skirts. I can't have this. But in general, I think that people have seen it. The new version that just came out in Detroit are really positive about it. So I'm excited to hear that. I think it'll be really good. Spencer, will you be going to watch this?
I mean, if it's only in Michigan, probably not. But, should the opportunity arise, obviously.
I am, though, very excited to go see Peter Pan Goes Wrong, because it's a play about a play going wrong with all physical comedy. And, that's my bread and butter. I think this is why I like gymnastics so much, because there's so many opportunities for comedy. But it's not, I hope it's not a musical. But if everything goes wrong, then maybe I can stand a musical. I'm sorry, you guys. This is why we have Spencer. He likes musicals. Yeah. This is why.
I don't endorse anything Jessica is saying right now.
Right, exactly. Which is fine. Okay, we will see you guys on Friday at noon Pacific for Behind the Scenes. If you loved College and Cocktails, you get the same thing, but now at noon Pacific, so you can, at the end of your workday, when you're it's 3:00 on the East Coast.
At noon Pacific, you're done working on Fridays. That's called the Spencer workday.
Let's be honest about
and
Fridays.
9 a.m. to noon is a Spencer workday.
You know that everybody takes an extra long lunch on Fridays if you have an office job, and then no one really does any work, or you wait till 4:45 and you're send the last email, and then you try to get out of there early. You guys, I'm just saying. So join us for your lunch break, or your end of day when you really don't want to work on anything else at noon Pacific. You can join us live if you're a Club Gym Nerd member and ask questions live. You can always send us an email with questions, and you can listen to it on your favorite podcast player. You don't have to log into the website to listen to it. There's instructions on all of the behind-the-scenes pages. Thank you so much to everybody who is continuing this journey with us into the elite season and all the Olympic qualifying after the college season. And remember to take off on gay, split on rights, and we'll see you on Friday. Thanks for listening. This show is created, executive produced, edited, audio engineered, and published by me, Jessica O'Byrne.
Managing editor in charge of show notes, podcast content, and wrangling over enthusiasm is Spencer Barnes.
Our news editor is Uncle Tim of gymnastics-history.com.
And customer service, IT, Gymternet news, and additional production services are provided by Steve Cooper, aka Fact Check.